Have you ever experienced something like you just talked to a friend, face to face, everything seemed completely normal, but then, just 10 minutes later, they call and say they're coming over and claim they never saw you today? Or how sometimes dreams can be warnings that actually save your life. Hi guys, I'm Ryan. I love spooky, creepy, mysterious stories, even though I'm also the kind of person who gets scared just by turning off the lights. So I thought, if I'm gonna suffer, might as well bring you along with me. I scour Reddit and other dark corners of the internet to find the most bone-chilling stories I can. Feel free to watch this while eating, before bed, or just leave it playing in the background while you work. Alright, enough rambling. Let's get started.
What the hell is even that?
In today's video, we're diving into some supernatural events that people have experienced. Events that just can't be explained. A glitch in my memory? Or in reality? I don't know if I'd call it supernatural, but it was freaky and I still don't understand. I was in the kitchen cleaning up, waiting for my kid's bus. I saw it pull up and saw him get off. He didn't come in, but he'd started playing around with hiding under the window to jump out at me and say boo. So I thought that's what he was doing. But I walked out and he wasn't there. I called his name and looked around the house thinking he was hiding from me, but I couldn't find him. I circled the house calling for him, and the parent panic set in. It probably only lasted 90 seconds, but it felt a lot longer. Then his bus pulled up and he got off. I've never encountered another person with the same kind of story as mine. I've looked and looked for years regarding accounts or folklore regarding the ghosts of living people. Here's my story. We were about 13, my best friend and I. She lived in the second story of an apartment building with her mom at the time. After playing indoors, we decided to go outside. As soon as we stepped outside, her in front of me, I said, "Oh, it's so cold." And I let the door slightly ajar to grab my coat off the couch. Then turning around, we ran back outside together. I stopped at the door to put on my coat, but she kept running to the end of the balcony where the stairs were that led to an empty parking lot. Trying to be sneaky and scare her, I snuck up behind her as she quietly looked over the railing. When I got about 3 feet away from her, she quickly turned around, smiled and darted around the corner down the stairs. I laughed and chased after her, only I thought it was odd how quickly she got down the stairs and found a place to hide. The stairs led to an empty parking lot. She was nowhere to be found. Confused, I circled back up to the stairs on the opposite end of the lot. These stairs were the only other way up to the second floor and an apartment complex length down the way. As I made my way across, up and back to her apartment without seeing her, I opened her apartment door in at the same time she is walking back out. Immediately, I was thinking, WTF? How? I said, "How did you get back inside so fast?" She said, "What do you mean I went in right behind you, to get my coat too?" She went on to explain that she agreed when I said it was cold and went back in with me to grab a coat from her room. I made her swear on everything sacred to her at the moment, and even periodically until this day, besties over 20 years, that it was not her at the top of the stairs that day. Sort of along the same vein, and it actually just happened to me this afternoon. Cue me browsing Reddit for supernatural incidents. And geez, yours is the top comment. I prepare afternoon snacks for my boys so that when they get off the bus after school, they just have to wash up and come sit down while we chat and they eat. The oldest, 15, gets home earlier than the youngest, 13. I've mostly got timing of snack prep down to a T. I'm usually setting it down at their usual seat on the kitchen island just as Jake steps through the door. Today I finished up and I glanced at the clock. Only a few minutes past his usual time. I'm at the sink washing up some dishes when I think I hear knocking at the front door. I hurry through the living room, thinking I must have left the screen door locked and Jake can't get in. But before I reach the door, I can see there's no one there. I check to make sure the door isn't locked and wonder if it was just that thing that happens when there's running water. You know, you start to think you hear things or whatever. Anyway, I hear our dogs bark and I go to the back door to let them back in. Except they're barking at the wooden fence on the side of the house. I call to them, but they don't come, instead running along the side of the fence barking. From my vantage point atop the deck, I can't tell whether someone or something's on the other side, but wonder if it's my son playing a trick on me, which he sometimes does. I wonder if he was planning to sneak in the back way and surprise me. He's got a playful nature, so I wouldn't put it past him. I call out, "Jake, is that you? Jake? Jake?" And wait a moment before calling to the dogs again, and then coming back inside the house when they ignore me. I check the time again. Now about 10 minutes past his usual time. I walk back out to the front, to peek around the side of the fence, and just as I'm about to reach the edge of the house, I hear my phone ring. I left it on the kitchen counter inside, so I double back to get it. It's Jake. He fell asleep on the bus and is at the next stop, wanting to know if I can come get him. I lock up and drive the couple blocks to the next stop. I could have made him walk, but for some reason I felt on edge. What with the phantom knocking, the dogs barking, So I just drive there and pick him up. As we drive back, he tells me he had the strangest dream. He had gotten off the bus and couldn't come in the front door. So he knocked and knocked, but no one opened the door. So he went to jump around the back fence to see if he could come in the back door, when he thought he heard me call his name and woke up. What the fuck, right? I mean, just blew my mind. I don't know where those people learned shadow clone jutsu, but I'm pretty sure their teacher isn't human. Did I imagine it? Or see the future? I had a phase in my mid-teens when I would read the obituaries in the local newspaper. I saw a name that was familiar as it was the same as a family friend. It had his full first, middle, and last names. I didn't say anything to my parents since I figured they already knew. A few days later, my mom told me he died, and I said I knew since I saw his obit. She said, "He died last night in his sleep." I went back through the newspapers. My mom kept them for a week before throwing them out. But the obit wasn't there. When the real obit came out, it had his first and last name but just his middle initial. This was almost 40 years ago, and I still think about it. So, was it just a case of mistaken memory? A name that happened to match? Or did this person somehow glimpse a death that hadn't happened yet? Some believe it's just our brain playing tricks, false memories, déjà vu, or the mind connecting unrelated dots. Others, though, think there's more, a sign, a warning, maybe even a message from beyond. After all, what are the odds of seeing a full obituary with the exact name days before the person actually passed away? Coincidence? Or something we simply can't explain? Maybe, just maybe, there are still mysteries the world isn't ready to solve. We saw her, then she vanished without a trace. I shared this story a few times on Reddit, but no one seems to care. I just wish I could show people firsthand how bizarre it really was. There's this place in my hometown called Old Town, which is an area they had to evacuate because a mine was there and it made the area unsafe due to sinkholes and whatnot. I was in a class in middle school called Environmental Adventures where you did outdoor stuff, and we went to Old Town to do some geocaching. While the class was walking, we saw an old lady on a rocking chair on a concrete foundation where a house used to be. She was dressed like an old-timey old lady like Muriel from Courage the Cowardly Dog. She was rocking back and forth, talking to herself while she stared into the woods, not looking at us once. We found the geocache a little down the road, turned around, and her and the rocking chair disappeared. There was no way that she could have got away that fast toting a rocking chair without us seeing her. We were only at the geocache for like 5 minutes. Confused everybody. Weirdest shit ever. Now this one is classic ghost story material. A deserted town? A mysterious old lady rocking on nothing but a slab of concrete? Sounds like something straight out of Courage the Cowardly Dog. But if we try to explain it logically, maybe it was a local with dementia who wandered back to a place she once lived? Except, how did she vanish with a whole rocking chair in 5 minutes? No footsteps, no dragging sounds, no sightings on the way out? Here's the creepy twist. There's a theory in the paranormal world called residual hauntings. It's like time playing on repeat. Some believe emotionally charged moments can leave an echo in a place, especially abandoned or tragic locations like a sinkhole-ridden town. So maybe what they saw wasn't a person but a looped memory playing out in real time. And when it was over, poof, scene deleted. Or maybe she was geocaching too, but ghost edition. I don't believe in signs, but this one changed my mind. My cousin had struggled with depression his whole life, and a few years ago things came to a head. He was 100% convinced the only cure to his depression was that death was the only thing that would make him truly happy. We were close, so it hit pretty hard. After the funeral, my aunt told us that she had saw a helium-filled smiley face balloon kind of float in front of her, then stop, and it just kind of sat there for a minute. Then it flew up and away, out of sight on its own. When she told us this, we kind of just brushed it off as a coincidence, but it kept happening to her over the next couple weeks. We thought she was just recognizing patterns until I was at a music festival a few months later and the exact same type of balloon, same color and everything, float through my campsite and did the same thing where it stopped on its own, stared at me, then kind of bobbed and flew up and away. I'm not really a believer in ghosts and the like, but I'm convinced in some shape or form that was my cousin telling us that he was finally happy. This kind of experience might be explained by something called pareidolia. Our brains are wired to find meaning and patterns, especially when we're emotional or grieving. Seeing the same type of balloon might just be a coincidence, but our minds connect the dots to find comfort. Or maybe your cousin found a fun new way to say, "I'm good now," as a floating, smiley-faced balloon messenger. Either way, it's a sweet and hopeful sign, and honestly, who wouldn't want a happy balloon sending vibes from the afterlife? A dream I tried to forget nearly became a tragedy. Early into my now wife and I's relationship, I had a dream about her in childbirth. Very vivid and long, like I spent days in the hospital with her and everything was in a strange twilight. When it came time to deliver, things went very wrong and she and baby ended up passing away. I woke up quite shook naturally but brushed it off. I am a nurse and have had to deal with traumatic OB situations before, and I chalked it up to me dealing with that stress through a dream. 6 years later and my wife is pregnant. I have forgotten the dream by now. I get a call late into the 3rd trimester while I am on shift. Wife is going to the ER for a bad BP. I get off my shift and go to meet her. As soon as I step into the room, I remember my dream. It's the same damn room, which is extra spooky because the hospital we were at wasn't even built when I had the dream. This is last year, right when lockdown started. My wife is admitted they want to wait a week to deliver if possible. She will be kept in a twilight state until that time. So it's me in this room, eerily isolated as the world around us is frozen and my wife is incoherent mere feet away. Lingering for days in this room, I brushed off my dream, trying to manage my anxiety and stress. Come showtime, my wife gets ready to begin pushing, and it's exactly the same scenario as my dream. Things start going poorly, but the doctor thinks delivery is still possible. But at this point, I finally freak out into full panic and demand a C-section for my wife. The doctor, I can tell, wants to argue, but I think my outburst made her step back and reassess the situation, and she made the call for emergency C-section. Took 10 minutes for me to get taken back, and as I'm in the OR, I see my baby come out lifeless. They do everything they can and manage to resuscitate her. In the meantime, my wife is doing poorly and they are scrambling to control her bleeding. I follow the baby out knowing there's really nothing I can do. Baby gets life flighted to another hospital, but before we go I see my wife stable and headed to the ICU. Both my wife and baby are critical but alive. Today they are both thriving and my baby is 16 months and just a tornado of energy. I don't know that they would be alive if not for that dream and it causing me to freak out and demand a change in plan. Sometimes our minds process fears and stress in ways we don't fully understand. Like having a vivid dream that feels almost like a premonition. It might be your brain's way of preparing you for something difficult ahead, helping you stay alert and ready to act. Or maybe, just maybe, it was a bit of cosmic timing nudging you to trust your instincts when it really mattered. Either way, it's a powerful reminder that sometimes our gut feelings, or even dreams, can make all the difference. And thank goodness you did. Lost ring, a dream, and a message from my mom. My dad killed my mom when I was 10. I'm now mid-30s. 2 years ago, I had lost my wedding ring. We looked everywhere. I even played back the security camera at work to see if I was wearing it when I left. I gave up finding it and was very upset. One night, I had a dream my mom woke me up and said, "I know you've been looking for this. I love you. It'll be out here." In the morning, I was getting ready for work as usual. Sat down on the couch. Right in front of me on the ottoman was my ring. I went to bed after my wife and she woke up after me. I used that ottoman the night before and there's no way the ring could have been there. Again, I checked our camera. We had been robbed once, so we kept a camera towards the front door. It could see our couch, and the ottoman had no ring when I went to bed. I still cry every now and then remembering it. Sometimes, when we're grieving or holding on to painful memories, our minds, and maybe something beyond, find ways to give us comfort and closure. Dreams like this can feel like a message from those we've lost, reminding us they're still watching over us. And hey, if your mom is helping you find your wedding ring, maybe she's just making sure you don't lose your bling in the afterlife too. My dad's nightmare turned out to be a real-life warning. Many years ago, my parents had separated and my father was planning on taking a trip across the country to California. He was pretty excited about it. I talked to him the day before he's leaving, wish him well and tell him I'll talk to him after he gets to California. The day of his trip, he calls me and tells me he decided last minute not to go. Refuses to really get into why, just says he changed his mind. Seemed really odd for something that he had been planning for a couple months. That night, I'm sitting at my girlfriend's house and we're watching the news, and they report that U.S. Air Flight 1493, the flight my dad was supposed to be on, collided with another aircraft while landing in Los Angeles. About 25% of the people on the flight were killed. Hard to know how my dad would have made out, because it really depended on where you were sitting, front versus back of the plane. It was several months before he finally told me that night before he was supposed to leave, he had an extremely vivid dream that he died in a fiery plane crash. So vivid that it scared him out of flying that day. My dad is a Marine Corps Vietnam veteran who saw combat. I can only imagine how vivid the dream must have been to scare him out of getting on that plane that morning. Sometimes our brains are like overachieving detectives, picking up clues we don't even realize. Your dad's dream was basically the ultimate skip the flight alert. Talk about psychic parking. Whether it's a sixth sense or just cosmic luck, that dream saved him from a serious disaster. So hey, maybe next time you have a weird dream, listen up. It might just be your brain's way of saying, no, stay home and chill today. A nightmare that turned out to be real. I had a dream once about my high school best friend who had moved out of state and started a family. I hadn't seen her or spoken to her in at least 10 years and had never met her child, except seeing pictures/posts on Facebook and commenting on them. In my dream, I was walking down a street at night and out of nowhere her little girl appears next to me and I asked her, "Where's your mama? Why are you by yourself?" I remember her taking me to some bushes near a random house on the street and finding my friend in bad shape, beaten up or something, on the ground, and I remember running to the door of the random house screaming for help and to call the police. This is all I can recall from the dream, but I think there may have been a little more. The next day, I wake up and think to myself, man, that was weird. Maybe I dreamt of her because we had just spoken a little in comments of a Facebook post. I should send her a message. I go on about my day, go to work, get home later that day and sit on my couch and scroll through Facebook. Bam. 1,000 posts, rest in peace, etc. All of them tagged my friend and her daughter. I thought, what in the actual F***CK? At that point, there was no information as to what had happened, so I thought it must have been a car accident or something. Over the course of the next few weeks to months, more and more information came out, and it was not an accident. My friend and her sweet baby had been murdered by some animal. I won't refer to them as a person. This happened about 5 years ago. I still remember the main parts of the dream vividly. I still am a little horrified that I had this dream that night, when it was happening possibly. I haven't been able to tell anyone else about it either because just thinking about it gives me chills. This story is deeply unsettling. Precognitive dreams, where people seem to foresee real events, remain a mystery to science. Some suggest they're coincidences or subconscious processing of subtle clues. But when a dream matches a tragic event so closely, it challenges our understanding of reality. Many cultures believe dreams are a bridge between worlds, allowing messages or warnings from beyond. This could explain why such vivid dreams happen at crucial moments. It's heartbreaking to carry such knowledge without being able to act. Knowing the perpetrator, the person responsible for this terrible crime, has been caught may bring some justice, but it doesn't lessen the trauma or horror of the loss. Thank you for sharing this with respect and honesty. Sometimes, the hardest stories are the ones we need to tell. One moment, everything was normal, the next, nothing made sense. My buddy and I were playing tennis one night at some courts by my house. Lights usually went out at 11, but for whatever reason that night they went off at a weird time, like 10:43. Whatever, that was weird. We collected our stuff and started walking to my car about 500 feet from the courts. My buddy's mom pulls up right as we're getting to my car and goes, "Where the hell have you been? I called your cell and some guy was just laughing. It didn't sound like you." It was then my buddy realized he didn't have his phone on him. He told his mom to call his cell again, and we could see it light up in the middle of the court we were playing on by the net, but still definitely in between the single lines, not at all where we kept the rest of our stuff. He goes and gets it and only has the one missed call from his mom, the one she just made. He asked if she called the right number and her call log showed 3 calls to his phone all that night. We can't explain why the cell was on the court or what happened with the calls or what happened with the lights. It was surreal. I've had something similar but not creepy at all. I had a phone issue where I've called my friend's number, and he lives literally down my street to this day, and some random person on the other line picks up. Now they actually talked to me and said no, this isn't the right number and everything. But when I went to text him, it went right to my friend. He never got any phone calls from me. Ever. Only texts. This story sounds like a funny little mystery. Your friend's phone decided to play a game of hide and seek right on the tennis court, and those unexpected calls only made it more confusing. Sometimes technology just surprises us in the most unexpected ways. And the case of the random person answering your friend's number? It's almost like the phone had its own secret life, answering calls when nobody expected it. It's a reminder that even the simplest devices can behave in ways that make us scratch our heads. Honestly, with phones acting like this, who needs ghosts? Next thing you know, your phone might start sending you memes. When the dead speak. This didn't happen to me, but a very nice old man and his wife used to live a few streets over from us. Well, she got very sick and his son flew in to help watch and care for her. A few weeks later, she moved to hospice and later died. The night she died, her husband and son drive home, and they were talking about what to do for the funeral, and the husband asked, "Do you think she'd want some person to attend?" And they both said they heard the dead mom/wife in the back seat say, "No thank you." This kind of event falls into what's called a shared hallucination, which is extremely rare and usually occurs between people who are very close and under significant emotional stress, like a father and son grieving together. So, scientifically, that's one possible explanation. But if you lean toward the spiritual side, well, nothing really rules out the idea that the wife genuinely wanted to send one final message. And honestly, her message, it's the most long-time wife thing ever. Not angry, not spooky, not dramatic, just a calm and firm, "No thank you," like she's politely declining an invite, even from beyond the grave. So in the end, if you believe in science, maybe it was a rare psychological event. If you believe in the afterlife, maybe she's still managing the guest list. How about you, Team Brain Trick or Team Ghostly RSVP? My son recognized a woman he never met. My son, now 10, was 4 and was able to name my grandmother by name by a picture of her when she was in her 20s that was in storage that my mom and I were going through. She died before my wife and I even met. He said she was the lady who taught him how to do his silly laugh. Context: His silly laugh, as we called it, was a laugh that sounded just like my grandmother's. The reason it was so specific and silly was that my grandmother had a brain aneurysm when my mom was in her teens. It paralyzed the left of her body, including vocal cords and lips, and gave her a very distinct and odd-sounding laugh. My younger sister did this exact same thing once. I was fortunate enough to have been around for a few years to meet my great-grandmother. I still remember her to this day. When I was very young, my mom fell on rough times and we had to live with my grandparents and a few other family members. Just your run-of-the-mill, typical Latino household in the 90s. She sadly passed away from cancer when I was about 4 years old, but she was surrounded by her loved ones, so we were each other's support system. About a year later, my little sister was born. One random day when I was around 11 and my sister was maybe 7 or 8, my mother and I were cleaning the living room in the apartment building we were then living in. She went to open the entertainment center and found a ton of old frames and pictures that I guess she forgot she put in there way back when. As we were going through them, my younger sister walked over and exclaimed, "Hey, that's the nice lady." At the top of the stack was a picture of my great-grandmother. My mom and I looked at each other puzzled, knowing that there was no way she could have known her. When my mom asked her how, she said that she often saw my great-grandmother sitting on her bed in our shared bedroom. I had a similar experience. My parents told me that when I was about 2 or 3 years old, they could hear me laughing in my room. Not just giggling like I often did, but full-on laughing as if someone was playing with me. Then went and checked on me and asked what I was doing. I told them I was playing with a friend. They thought I was talking about an imaginary friend or something, so they asked me this friend's name. I told them I was playing with Cheeto, which was my grandfather's, my mom's dad, nickname. This grandfather passed away a little over 3 years before I was born, and according to my parents, there is no way I knew about him. My mom, understandably, noped out of there, but my dad stayed and asked me more questions about this friend. We had no pictures of him in the house, and they had never told me about him, yet my dad says I described him perfectly, down to the kind of glasses and his favorite clothes he used to wear. After reading those stories, I miss my grandmother so much. She has a very serious heart condition that has spread to other parts of her body, and she had to be hospitalized. Because her health is already very weak and the chances of recovery are nearly impossible, they let her return home. I probably only have a few days left to be with her. I hate growing up and watching the people I love slowly leave me, even though life and death are natural parts of existence. But it's truly heartbreaking to know that someone you love is about to go. One thing's for sure, once I finish this video, I'll go be with my grandma. If you still have your grandparents, please spend more time with them. Anyway, stories like these tap into something deep. Children recalling people they've never met, describing them perfectly, even mimicking unique traits like a laugh shaped by paralysis. Scientifically, there's no solid explanation. Some suggest cryptomnesia, accidentally remembering things you were told and forgot. But in these cases, the kids had no way of knowing. That leaves the unsettling, yet oddly comforting idea. Maybe these souls really do visit. In many cultures, it's believed that young children, especially under 5, are more sensitive to the spiritual world, like their minds haven't fully tuned out yet. And when a kid says, "That's the lady who taught me how to laugh," and it's your deceased grandma with a one-of-a-kind laugh, that's not coincidence. That's goosebumps. Also, note to self, if I come back as a ghost, I'll teach my grandkids a cool dance. Legacy really matters. Anyway, that's the end of the video. If you've ever had a spooky experience like this, or just want to share something wild, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear it. And hey, if you liked the video, give it a like. It really helps me going. Alright, stay safe out there, have an awesome day, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.